So I'm just going ahead and starting this video. I'm going to go over every team, kind of explain our league. Technically doing this by about week 4. All the week 3 games were done today, but we still haven't played week 4 games yet. Some teams have started to play them, which is why you might see like 0-4 in the standings or 4 games total in the standings. But for the most part, there's still a good amount of week 4 games to be played. So the first thing in this season I just kind of want to explain is we split them between Eastern and Western conferences. So how it works is you play a total of 14 games a season. You play everybody in your conference twice. That's 6 games. You play everybody in your division twice. Apologies. That's 6 games. You play everybody in your conference once, so the remaining people, right? That's another 4. And then so that'll be 10 games. And the last 4 games are just randomly picked between these 4 or the opposite conference. So you don't actually play every team. You do play the majority of the teams. There's 16 teams, and so you'll miss out on 2. But you don't play every team. Or I think you miss out on 4 total. So that's how we split it. So sometimes you may not play the other side. So if you hear me say like, I don't play them, then that means I don't really play them. I am the San Diego Padres. So when I get to my team, or you'll hear me reference things, it's based off of my experiences. I have been able to play most of these teams, if not all. So I should have a good idea of how each team plays, and I've watched most of the games. So, yeah, definitely will just voice my opinions. Obviously, these are my opinions, so take it as you will. We'll go ahead and start with the Giants. I think the Giants are probably one of the best teams in the league. I know they're 1-2 right now, and their record doesn't show it. I think they're just struggling hitting. But overall, I think you have combos like Zenon and Keisha and Courtney. Those 3 alone are really strong. And then he's got great fielders all across the board, all the way from Zenon to pretty much Ivan. He's got strong fielders. So first 5 players, and then you throw in like Perry's not bad and Murray's not bad. So I really think his only weakness in fielding are Lance and Rafael, but they both have crazy power and can hit it out at any time. So I don't really think that's his problem. I do think his weakness is going to be getting on base. Last season, the Giants went with hitting and hitting and speed. And so he was able to get on base and rack up runs, but the fielding wasn't as good. This season, he kind of did the opposite and went straight for hitting and fielding. And overall, I think that is a better team. But I think he has slower players this season, at least on the bottom 4 side of his roster, where you can see he has 3 4-speed players and 1 5-speed. And so I think his issue is going to be getting on base. I actually haven't watched a lot of his games. Personally, I think I've only seen 2. So I didn't see the loss against the Diamondbacks, but I did see the win against the Monsters, and I did see the win against the Royals. And both of those games, he did have the same issue. Sorry, the win against the Monsters and loss against the Royals. In both those games, he had the issue of getting on base, and I think that's because his bottom half of the lineup is too slow. He might have to mix them in and out, weave those slower players in his lineup like early on, and just kind of throw them all throughout to kind of be able to have the chance to hit, get one guy on base and then hit a home run. Maybe go more for like 2-run homers instead of like a 1-run homer, or try and suck early. I don't know. I can't coach his team, obviously, but that's the weakness I see in his team. Otherwise, he's had strong fielding. I mean, he does have 2 weak fielders, but you can hide 2 fielders between right field and second base. So I feel like the main issue is mainly going to come from just getting people on base to get those runs. Next, we have the Dodgers. I think this team's pretty good. So the Dodgers actually had first pick. I mean, he's 3-1, so he's obviously proving it. Dodgers had first pick, and he picked Cal Ripken, and everyone was kind of shocked, but I think he's making it work really well. Cal Ripken's stamina buff is no joke. He also got double Larry Walker, which pretty cool. So they've been pretty nasty. Jeremy's been doing really well for him. He did pick up one Weber to try to get both. That didn't work out, but Solo Weber has actually been killing it. I think even Ashley got a home run in one of the games. So overall, I think this team's really good. I think Michiko Adachi is a good ninth pick. I think Angelique Harding is a really strong pitcher, especially when she has 91 stamina base instead of 81. So her heaters only take 2 energy. Makes her pretty threatening. She can pitch a whole game pretty much. Overall, I think this team's really good. I think the weakness of this team, maybe his bottom 3 players all having 4 speed. But at the same time, so I would say maybe the end of his batting lineup. But then at the same time, when I say that, Joan May has 100 hitting. So as long as she is able to hit, even though her eye is kind of weak, as long as she's able to hit, she makes up for that weakness. So in reality, he only has 2 bad batters. Um, but yeah, overall, I think the Dodgers are a really strong team. I think they're definitely deserving of a 3-1 record. I think overall, good team, strong fielding all across the board. If he's somehow able to dump one Weber or get the other Weber, he's able to get both or dump one and get like an equal trade, I think this team automatically goes up to probably top 3 in the league. Right now, I'd probably put it around top 5. But again, he's 3-1 and he's kind of earned all those wins. So he technically is top 3 in the league right now. Here we have the New York Yankees. So this team, when I see it at first glance, it has issues. I think the main issues is obviously going to be speed for him. Has lots of 3 and 4 speed players. He does get Ernie Steele buff on Steel Stadium, and Ernie Steele's pretty strong. He is 3-1. His team can hit though. That's the thing. He has Grace Tipton. I've always said good pitching and a decent infield hides bad defense. Because it makes it really hard to get those long hits, and if they occasionally get those long hits, like it just depends on how much they really can get out of it. I think Grace Tipton is one of the top 4 or 5 pitchers in the league. She's definitely pretty good overall. I think he's got Sammy Sosa, clutch hitter. He's got Fred Benson, another strong hitter. So he's got pretty much 2 instant home run players, players that can spark that run streak for your team. And then to top it all off, he's got, Grace isn't so bad at batting. I mean, yes, she can't really hit, but she's 8 speeds. She can always get a bunt off. Then you got people like Sean Green, buffed Ernie Steele. Overall, I think this team has really solid batting. I think his only weakness is speed. And if the ball goes into that, we joke and call it the Bermuda Triangle, where he's got like 4 players kind of all not able to run for the ball at the same time. That's how people capitalize runs on him. But I think because his pitching is so strong, it's going to negate a lot of those moments. So in reality, he should be getting more opportunities to hit the ball than the other team should in terms of scoring. Like he's going to get more people on base, more people in better hitting positions. The only issue I see is his bottom 3 of his lineup, where they're all 3 and 4 speed. So if he can mix those guys in and out of the, in his batting order, I haven't really paid attention to what his batting order actually is, but if he's able to mix them in and out of it, and kind of, put them next to fast people and not stack them all at the end to where you'd have a weak batting lineup, I'm pretty sure this team is really strong, and I think that's what he's been doing since he's already 3-1. Granted, I do think he's only played. No, that's not true. He's played 3 really strong teams, and he's won 2 of those games. So, yeah, he's deserving of the 3-1, and he's definitely, yeah, he's got a good team. Honestly, I think early on in the season, people were ranking him like 10th. I put him in like B tier. This team is definitely an A tier team. Can be S tier depending on how he performs in the season. Naldi gets really down on himself as a coach and said he drafted a bad team. I think he drafted a pretty good team. I think he drafted a really good team. Next, we're going to go with the Angels. So in this season, you're going to see a lot of pitchers get pitched around the 3rd round or picked around the 3rd round. And that was because pretty much Frank Thomas and Randy Johnson got picked in the 1st. And then right at the beginning of the 2nd, Mandy Coolidge and Kurt Schilling got picked at the top of the 2nd round. So everyone kind of started struggling and worrying about getting a solid pitcher. Overall, I think the Angels have a really strong team. He's got two really strong power hitters just right off the bat with Lindsay Felgate and Ahmed Khan. I think the only issue with Lindsay is her coordination. The RNG factor in it can screw him up, but I think her strengths heavily outweigh that. I mean, she's got 8 speed already. You got Ahmed Khan. I mean, it's Ahmed Khan, right? Um, and then he even picked up Rachel Abuena, so and Gary Allen. So he's got 4 decent can hit home run hitters, and I think that's what puts the Angels as a really good team. So definitely solid. He got an A tier pitcher, in my opinion. I don't put Sally at S tier because she doesn't have 100 stamina, or sorry, she doesn't have like above 84 stamina. So heaters do drain her quite a bit. But Sally is, in my opinion, an A tier pitcher when you get buff Sally. Overall, I think the issue with the Angels is just going to be having to pick Ronnie Dobbs as his 4th pick because someone would have taken him and he wouldn't have got the Sally Dobbs buff to make her a pitcher. So I think having that, taking Ronnie at 4th pick, does kind of hurt him a little bit. He was able to make up for it and get Gary Allen, who gave him some more hitting, even though he lost some with Ronnie. I think the issue though is he's got 3 players with really weak arms. Like I said earlier, in my personal opinion, I think 2 players is the max you want to have that are weak defensively, because you can hide them at left field, or so you can hide them at right field and second base, respectively. I think the issue with his team is that Ronnie Dobbs is a huge defensive liability being at 1 height, and Nerf Ronnie is kind of rough. And then on top of that, you have Rachel Abuena with a weak arm, and you also have Gary Allen with a weak arm. So putting all 3 of these players together does give him a weaker defense. But at the same time, I feel like his offense is very, very strong, especially compared to a lot of other teams. He has a lot of players with really good eyes that can hit. And I think because of that, he can cover those defenses. And even if he accidentally gives up 2 or 3 runs, he could probably score 5 or 6 pretty quickly. I would put the Angels at a top tier team. So far, the only concern I have is his 2 wins have been against the newer teams or the weaker teams. And he did lose to a good team already. But the season's young. He's only played 3 games, right? That's unfair to judge. If you only play one good team and you lose, and it was a close loss, it was 1-2. I'm not really going to say that's going to doubt it for me. I just don't know if I can put him in that S tier category of the teams where I think the Dodgers are currently right now. Just in terms of skill and placing. But definitely a good team. Very, very good team. Like A tier minimum. So we got the Kansas City Royals. I think this is another solid team. Overall, Nancy Chin as a pitcher, super, super strong. Has a 100 right hook. Has a 79 slow ball, and can still throw heaters, even though it's not the fastest. It's almost like a Frank Thomas heater. And she does also have 84 stamina, meaning that her heaters only take 2 stamina. And then she also has a 100 right hook, which means her right hook only takes 1. So she can actually pitch for quite a bit. Very, very good. She also has Lisa Crockett, who can pitch backup if need be, and Nomar, who can also pitch backup if need be. So I feel overall in pitching, even though Nancy can get gassed out, he does have 2 relief pitchers that can kind of easily slide in and fill in the job. In terms of hitters, he does have Jose Canseco. I think Jose Canseco is very strong. I have the clone of Jose Canseco. Basically having a good eye and good power definitely makes him really good. Unfortunately, he is prone to errors because of his low coordination. He will drop balls on pop flies. I love Jose in the outfield because the 4 height does guarantee that he can catch a little more than normal. But at the same time, the low coordination does make him drop some, fly balls that should be pretty easy to catch. But overall, Jose Canseco, worthy of a number 1 pick, guaranteed, killing it. Definitely a good player. Then he has A-Rod and Omar, who are absolutely great fielders and great hitters. Both are line drive specialists. Pretty much can get the ball, or can get on base, and maybe get 1 or 2 bases in. Nancy Chin can hit with low contact. I don't think she's a reliable hitter. I have someone with 1 contact, basically the Sally Dobbs clone, and I have the same issue. When you do get those hits, it's great. When you don't, Kind of sucks. But the one benefit that Nancy Chin does have is she has 6 speed. She's able to, close those gaps in speed a little bit more, a lot better. He does have Anna Drew, another solid batter and fielder, can potentially hit home runs. You have Lisa Crockett, Wall on first base. Whitney Singh, strong player overall in terms of fielding. Low coordination does hurt a little bit, but it's not a big deal. Has high aggression, willing to chase the balls, and a 7 speed. Then you have Tina Herrera, and Adam Van Doren. Again, both players kind of fill the same niche. Tina, a solid potential catcher. I don't know if that's where he's throwing her. Probably is. And then you have Adam, who's kind of just a last pick with some speed and has a somewhat decent arm. Overall, I think this team is very strong defensively. I think the only thing I would say with this team is it doesn't have enough home run hitters. Obviously, Anna Goodrew and even Nomar can hit home runs, but the consistency of the home runs, like how many, are they always going to have? You can't count on Nomar just to come up and knock it out of the park consistently, right? He can do it, but he's not always going to do it. Where Jose definitely has that higher probability of knocking it out of the park. I think that's the Kansas City Royals' weakness. But at the same time, I think they're very strong defensively and have a very high probability to get on base, so where they could get a lot of bases or a lot of runs just by getting line drives, getting a double and getting that person run on second back home, or maybe getting 2 runs out of that. And then they always have Jose Canseco to also get runs on bases home. So definitely have ways to score. I just think they lack the home run power. That's the weakness I think they have. I don't think that's a big weakness, but that is a weakness. Next, we have the Mighty Monsters. I think this team's really strong. I've said it before. I think the Mighty Monsters are one of the strongest teams in the league, just on paper. Obviously, it's going to come down to player performance like any team. I think Maria Luna is an absolute monster. I think she hits home runs. Having that 2-size batter box also helps her. I think Kenny Lofton's an amazing fielder. I think Brenna Marquette, who's the Jeff Bagwell clone, is the Nomar Garcia Power clone, is a super strong player. He actually uses her as his pitcher, and she's been doing great. Hillary Vargas, Jeff Bagwell clone, also killing it. And then you have Sophie Meyer, who's the Mark McGuire clone. So he's got the hitting and the fielding with just his first 5 picks. And then you look at his other players like Tracy Hoban and Scotty Roth, who also have amazing fielding. And then his 2 weak fielders, in my opinion, are Shane Smith and Dante. But Dante's not too bad, and Shane is average, but you can hide him at second. But Shane also has 7 speed, so you can make up for a lot. So I look at this team, I see very little weaknesses in terms of, overall. He's got strong hitters. He's got 2 mega home run hitters already. And then Brenda and Hillary definitely can hit home runs. Kind of the same situation as the Royals, right? They can hit the home runs, but it's not consistent. But they can also hit deep line drives and get those people on bases. And then you have Kenny Lofton, all-star, obviously. So, Mighty Monsters, I think that's an S-tier team. I think along with the Royals, who's also, in my opinion, either a high A, low S-tier team, I think the Mighty Monsters are a definite S-tier team. It's going to come down to player performance. They are 2-2. He's had a lot of disconnect games and kind of weird games that have come that way, but I think he's got an amazing team. I think if he pieces all together throughout the season, it's a long season, and he kind of gets the momentum going, I think this team could potentially win it all. I think on paper it is a scary team. Scary. Next up, we have the Melonheads. Humongous Melonheads. Very large Melonheads. Overall, I think this team's pretty good. I think you have a very good pitcher in Angela DeVecchio who can also hit. I think, you have a lot of players. I think what this team needs, double Webbers. I think you get double Webbers, it's going to create a huge defensive, potentially a strong infield. Running Webbers at first and third, I've done it in the past in some practice games. I think they're freaking amazing on first and third. Barry Bonds is no joke. I think the only problem this team has, in my opinion, is hitting, which getting both Webbers would solve a lot of that problem. And I think the second problem that they have is home run strength. I think right now you can only realistically rely on Angela to hit those home runs, which isn't the easiest, but she can do it, and she is reliable at hitting home runs. And then you kind of have Barry Bonds in the background, who, again, same thing. You have 81 power. If you're under like 86, you can hit the home runs. It's just not as consistent. And I think that's her problem this season. So I think if the Melonheads can fix that, maybe with a Weber trade. That's definitely going to make their defense a lot stronger. I mean, this is a very strong defensive team if you're just looking at it across the board, and you get double Webers in there instead, and makes your Sydney also great. It's a terrifying team, in my opinion. So I think this team has potential to be really good. I think the only weakness is getting runs. Um, but overall, speed is super solid on this team. Nothing lower than a 6 other than Angela. So pretty good. Pretty good. All right. This kid, this coach, Mike, he's crazy, man. This guy's crazy. So, first off, let me say one thing. This guy somehow can just tell when a ball is a ball. I don't know how he does it. He's so good. Man, like, I don't think his team is the greatest, but I put him S tier because he's so darn good at this game. So let's just go over what I think about his team. I mean, he's S tier. I'm just letting you guys know this guy's 3-0 already. He's the S tier player. Makes his team S tier. Strengths. He's got Mike Pizza and Pablo Sanchez, both home run hitters. Easily. I think he's hit so many home runs. He has a 28-1 game. Okay, this is an outlier game. The guy never played a game in his life. He refused to scrim because he was addicted to Baldur's Gate, so it was like 3-win. Okay, that's an outlier game. But the other two games, the Rockies and the Angels, no jokes. When I'm looking at this team, I see strong batting, especially in the hands of a strong player. But I also see weak batting, right? His second half of the lineup with Nan Porter, Stuart Sullivan, Vic Souffle, Annie Frazier. But see, Annie Frazier can hit it, though, because of her high contact. So I won't even counter there. And then Dominic Hoskins, who's average. So I think he's got 4 players who are just kind of weak in hitting, and he's got to weave them in and out of his lineup, which I'm pretty sure he does, if I remember right. Vic Souffle, though, I loved him last season. I had him for a bit. I think he's an amazing shortstop, or any part of the field. He can even play catcher. He's got 6 speed. If you put him at catcher, he can run towards the ball. His only issue is coordination. He does trip a little bit, but he throws so fast that he can like get up and make up for it. But overall, I think the weakness in this team, weak batters on the lower half of the side, and kind of weak fielding. But again, like, I think he has 2 players and he can easily hide them. In fact, I don't think his fielding is that weak. I think it's mainly weak batters. And he's going to struggle with scoring. His second problem is that he does have the Kurt Schilling clone, Nan Porter. And Nan Porter's issue is that she can run out of energy. But this dude has been pitching with her consistently for like almost the whole game, if not the whole game, and been killing it. So I'm not even going to say that's a weakness. I think it's a strength. So definitely, I put him as S tier because the player itself is S tier. He's just so damn good. I'm trying not to let that bias me in these team rankings, but this dude is so damn good. Like, you guys don't even get it. Like, he's so good. So he's an S tier team. All right, me. So I am 2-1 right now. I have the San Diego Padres. I feel like I have a pretty strong team this season. I have a pretty strong team. Last season was my first season. I kind of was thrown in there with just like an Excel sheet of the league and try to figure out everything I was drafting. I had this idea of doing like a total defense team, win every game 1-2. Didn't work out because I didn't have anyone who could really hit. So I couldn't actually get the runs that I thought I could. This season, I went with the same concept, but I made sure I got fielders and batters. And that's pretty much what I did. I went for high power, and I didn't care about the contact. Obviously, the better the contact, the higher the contact, the better. But I was looking for power on my hits and arm strength and accuracy if possible. That's what I was aiming for this season. I felt like I accomplished that. I did lose my first game, won my next 2, but I definitely feel like this team on paper is an A tier team. It's just going to come down to how well I execute it. I feel like I do have 2 really strong pitchers. I was able to get Esther French in the 8th round, who, in my opinion, is a very strong pitcher for that late of a pick, who can pretty much go at least the first 4 to 5 innings for me. And I like to end it off with Leah Wayne if possible. She definitely kills it. I don't like to put Leah Wayne in the beginning. I want to save that stamina as much as possible, just from running and hitting and everything. But overall, I'm really happy with this team. I definitely think it's an A tier team. I think it can be S tier. It's just going to be determined on how well I play. But overall, I feel like I got the fielding down. I got the hitting down. Bronco Lee, even though she's got a weak arm, her at second is perfect because she could throw the first and she could throw the third. So the only weakness is she can't really throw to home that well, but it is what it is. Not going to go too much into my team, but definitely, in my opinion, A tier team. All right, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. I think this team is very strong. He's a new player, so he's already starting off 2-1. I think that's great. Granted, he did win his first 2 games against other new players into the league, but still, just being able to beat the new players, I think is already huge. I think he's got a really strong pitcher. In my opinion, I think Randy Johnson's the best pitcher in the league. I know a lot of people love Frank Thomas. I thought Frank Thomas was really good. I've changed my mind. I think Randy Johnson's best. He's got hitters in terms of Raul Mondesi and Frankie Hawley. He's got Parker Colum. He's got Molly May. So he's got hitters, and even Jorge can hit. I think this team's weakness is his eye. And when I say it's his eye, I think it's his eye on the hitters that can hit him the home runs. Like Frankie Hawley and Parker Colum, those are his 2 consistent home run hitters. Both have kind of weak eyes, although Parker has a 58, so that's not too bad. But his fielding isn't that great, but again, makes up for it with his hitting. Tony Gwynn, I think, is a solid player. I don't think he's amazing, but I think he does the job. He's not horrible at fielding. It is very consistent. He's just like that consistent stock player. Overall, I think this team is very strong. I think the weakness that he has is just his eye stat with his strongest hitters possible. But I think where he shines is his defense, because he's got Randy Johnson. Like I said, if you have the best pitchers in the league and somewhat decent infield, it's going to look like you have really strong defense. And I think that shows. I've played against him. One of my wins was against him. I think it's a very strong team. I think as he gets better, his team is just going to get better. I think this is honestly either a high B tier team or a low A tier team as of right now. And depending on how well he plays, he could take it up. I think it's, again, very good team. It kind of sounds like I'm saying everybody has a very good team, but that's what I feel this season. I feel this season everyone has equal teams. Okay, the Arizona Diamondbacks. This guy, nice. This guy, he's so nice, but I hate I hate him. He's the first player, in my personal opinion, that has made Curt Schilling look like a freaking god tier pitcher. I have said, in my opinion, if you get rid of stamina, Curt Schilling is one of the best pitchers in the game. Obviously, stamina does come into that play, but I'm just talking about like raw, what he can throw stats. He can pretty much throw all 4 pitches at a very, very high level. He's not S tier in any pitching, but he's A tier in all his pitching stats. His only weakness just really comes into stamina. He's a great pitcher in terms of getting fielding, like grounders and throwing them to first. He throws super fast. He's an overall good pitcher. Only weakness is stamina. But this guy is throwing like 80 pitches a game, and he just doesn't get tired. I don't know. Best Curt Schilling pitcher, I'm gonna give it to him. He's a new player and he is killing it. He beat me in the first game. I did have a crazy like triple home run thing at the end, but hats off to him. I think he's the first player I've ever seen that made Curt Schilling look this good. He does have Kimmy Ekman on Ekman Acres, so when he does play his game on Ekman, which he's only played 1 home game, and he lost that, unfortunately, but I think his team's even stronger. I think overall this team is very solid defensively. He's got solid hitters. He doesn't have consistent home run hitting. I've noticed this in my game. I mean, he did drill one with Kimmy Ekman unbuffed, but still, consistency-wise, that was just a great hit. But he's not always going to hit that. He does have Mo Vaughn who can hit it consistently. In terms of power, but then like people like Dimitri can hit home runs, right? It's just not as always going to happen. I think that's his weakness. But in terms of getting on base, he definitely has that. He definitely has that feeling of total defense. He's got players with strong eyes that can all make contact with the ball and they can all throw. So I think, again, his only weakness is just scoring runs. Being able to bring those people on first, on second, home. So overall, solid team. Definitely an A tier team. It was funny because we were all kind of ragging on him because he picked Curt Schilling second, and this dude has made Curt Schilling look like an S tier pitcher all around. So, what, props to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Honestly, props to Coach Anthony, because this guy, I'm giving honest praise. Best Curt Schilling pitcher I've ever seen. Absolutely killing it. Next, we got the Cleveland Indians, coached by Urkul Khan. Okay, so this guy, He's learning. He's 4-0. Or sorry, 0-4, right? And his losses look pretty bad. You can see it. But I think if he can figure out batting, I think he's got a good team. I think this team's weakness is pretty obvious from the start. It's very slow. So he has trouble getting players on base. He can score with home runs. He's got one of the hardest hitting teams in the league, in my opinion. He's got Star Moonbeam, who can get on base for him. Right, 9 speed, can get on base. He's got Felix Grant, line drive specialist, can get on base. But again, Felix is slow. He's 4 speed. He's got to hit that thing pretty deep. And he can't always consistently do that. Same with Giambi. So, in my personal opinion, if I'm Fred, I'm going to be leveraging these players that have high hitting and trying to get players with speed who can, get on base and then let me, hit them away. So, I'd probably be looking to trade like Mickey O'Connor and Debbie, or Mickey and Mikey, or something like that. Some combination. Get more consistent hitting in. Although Mickey can hit, he needs speed. Right, bring in some speed and hitting, and maybe be able to do something with that, or even getting rid of Giambi. I think that's one of his weaknesses. I think the second weakness that he has is arm strength. I think a lot of his players can't throw very well, and it does show on certain moments. But then, like I've said earlier, he does have a god tier pitcher, which is there's only 2 in the game. We don't play with the pitcher clones for Frank Thomas and Randy Johnson. So there's only 2 god tier pitchers: Frank Thomas, Randy Johnson. He's got one of them. Frank Thomas is really strong at pitching. Obviously, he has a pretty strong infield, so it does cover a lot of his defensive holes. But again, I think the problem with this team is the speed, and he still has too many weak arms. Like, there's just too many weak arms. He can't hide them all. So maybe if he's able to get rid of these weak arms, get stronger arms, get some speed in there, definitely going to look really good. But that's the thing I see about the Indians. I think this team does have potential to be really strong, though. But it's just going to come down to him. All right, my favorite Zoomer in the world, the Blue Fishes. So this guy, he's 2-1. No, sorry, he lost the Angels to. He's technically 1-3. So he was 1-2, but he's technically 1-3. This team, I'm so mixed on it. When I'm looking at it, it just seems like he can score runs. He can get people on base, and then he can bring them home, right? But the problem that I see with this team is deep. He's got some really good defensive players and some really, really bad defensive players. Not like semi-bad, like horrible defensive players. Both Paco and Luan Lu are absolutely awful, and he can't hide both of them because they're so bad. Like, sometimes you can have someone who's so bad you can't hide them, you just have to play around them. That's the problem I think this team has. The second problem I think this team has is it's probably one major home run hitter away. No, I take that back. He has 3 home run hitters. And Pete Willer, who could potentially have not consistently. Line drive easily. No, I take that back. This team's problem is just the defense. Because Paco and Luan Lu are so bad defensively, it is hurting him. But I think if he gets better as a player, he can definitely make a good run. Because this team can't score. And he does have Mandy Coolidge, who's an amazing pitcher. So, as long as he's able to avoid her getting gassed out, this team is pretty scary. Okay. We're almost done. I think we have 3 teams left. So we have the Oakland A's. I actually play against this team week 5. This team is very good. Overall, he's got really strong hitters. He's got okay pitching. I don't think he's got great pitching, but he's got okay pitching. And he has speed, right? He's got a lot of speed. His defense is very strong. He has a lot of arm. He does have some players with weak arms, but they're not like horrible. They're just weak, right? Other than Terry Vega, that's the one player that's absolutely horrible for him in terms of arm strength. He makes up for it, so he could easily cover Terry. And Terry being at potentially second or even right field, he can hide them. So Overall, I think this team's really strong defensively. I think the weakness in this team is the eye stat. A lot of his best hitters have really weak eye stat. Now, I do say that the eye stat is a skill stat, right, for the most part, but at the same time, it's also, in my opinion, a consistency stat. So even though you can be really good at calling balls, you're still going to miss some really good pitches because you just can't see them. Right? Sometimes there's pitches that you just can't tell, or it makes you do that split second guess. So I think that's the weakness of this team is the eye stat. Personally, I think that's pretty much it, though. I think overall this team's very strong and very fast. So definitely a good team. You can get can get batters on base and then bring them home. So strong team, definitely a high A tier team. I forgot to say Fred's team. I think Fred's a B, a low B right now. Sorry, Kukulkan, the Cleveland Indians, I think that's a low B tier. I'm just gonna go back real quick. I think the Bluefishes is a C tier team based off of player and team. But I think this team can definitely be a B tier team. And I think the Oakland A's is definitely a low A tier team, but definitely based off skill, right? He can go up. So I think as of right now, it's a low A tier team. I'm putting myself at A tier, so I mean, we're all in the same bracket. It's a good team. The low ice stat against very strong pitchers can be an issue. I don't think there's a lot of strong pitchers in the league right now, but that's the only thing I can see. It really is its biggest week. All right, so we have the Chicago Cubs. Again, this is another 0-4 team. He did lose to the Athletics today. This is another 0-4 team. Again, the only reason why, in my opinion, this team's 0-4, these were his first 4 games ever playing. He didn't get to scrim. I think this team on paper is very strong. I think Stephanie Morgan might be an issue because she just, that one attention is really painful, but she can hit the ball and she can run. And she technically can field. I think it's a solid all around team though. I don't really think this team is bad. I think the problem with this team is the consistency in home run hitting. Right, you really just got Chico Papas to be your main home run hitter. Like Juan can hit home runs, just not consistently. Same with Tony's, same with all these players. But overall, I think this is a very good team. He can easily get on base. He has decent speed. Not like he's horribly slow. He's got 2 pitchers and Becky Flinder and Todd Xavier he can switch through. It's a good team. He just needs experience. But I think this is a good team. Right now, it's a low B, high C tier team. Basically based off player skill because he needs more practice. But if he gets that practice, this is easily a B tier team. If not a high B tier team. So definitely a good team overall. Okay, Beans' team. Colorado Rockies. This guy got memed on when we were drafting. Everyone was like, why are you drafting so many pitchers? A lot of his players can actually pitch really well. Granted, not all of them should be pitching. I don't think Amir Khan should ever be pitching because he can only really pitch one batter, but he's got good pitchers, right? He's got Derek, Raytron, and Derek McCutchery he can swap between, and he's also got Ezra Travolta, and so he's got 3 pitchers he can easily rotate between if he really wants to. I think the problem with this team is home run hitting. I think, yes, Fabian Callahan can hit home runs. Her eye is really trash, and she also has 3 speed. So if she can't get the hit consistently, the problem with this team is just they're not going to be able to get on base, right? Fabian can't get on base. But just Fabian, his 1 home run here. But again, that doesn't matter if you can hit the home runs. He does it Ken Griffey. I think Ken Griffey's a great home run hitter. Dan Olson, I think, is a great hitter, but he's more of like a line drive specialist. Amir Khan without the buff is the same thing. So this team has a lot of people that can hit line drives, but he doesn't have really the speed to get him on base. Right? So unless he's knocking them pretty far, it's really hard for him to get these players on the base itself. His highest speed in the game is 6, but he does have a lot of 6s. I mean, I'm counting about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 players at 6 speed. So I mean, that's good. But then again, you kind of hit it pretty far. So if he could get these consistent hits, I think this is a good team. But I think he does lack the home run power to bring him home. I know Fabian can hit that home run, but I feel like she's very unreliable with that 24 eye. But again, she can do it. So I think Ken Griffey Jr. is his main consistent home run hitter. And I think he doesn't have a bad team. I don't think he has a great team. He does have 3 players weak on arm, but you kind of hide them. So again, I don't know. This team is going to be a player skill team in my opinion. Like depending on how good Beats plays can definitely make this team go up or down in my rankings. But I think he's like a low B tier who can definitely move up to a high B tier team. Or you can even go up to A tier if he's just killing it, right? It's just gonna depend on him, but that's my opinion. Lastly, I'm just gonna go over quickly because everyone has played about 3 games now. We do have a team stats, team leaders. So kind of just give everybody an idea of how everyone's hitting. And this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying the monsters, man. The monsters are they're killing it in hits, singles, and doubles. And then you look at triples and home runs, and he's in like what, the top 6. You know, this is a good team. The Monsters are a very good team. You see them all the way across the board. I think the Red Sox are a good team. Again, S tier team based on play. I think there's only 2 S tier teams, actually. I'm going to take it all back. I think the 2 S tier teams this season are the Monsters and the Red Sox. And the Red Sox is mainly because of player skill. 100%. The guy's just so good. I think every other team's A tier. They can be very high A tier, low A tier, wherever you want to throw them, all the other players I was talking about. But in my opinion, those are 2 only S tier teams. Now, granted, monsters are going to be based off player skill, right? On how well he does. Joachim is good, but he's not like the greatest player out of the group. So I could see him dropping down to like an A tier team or like a high A tier. But I think, in my opinion, off just how the teams are, I think those are 2 top tier teams. I think the monsters are really strong. The record doesn't show correctly how good they are, but I think the monsters are a really strong team. I think the Red Sox, again, just really strong with player skill, but he also has really good defense. And I think all the other teams are pretty much A tier. Giants are really struggling, but again, it's only 3 games. I think the key. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If I had to quickly go through them, I'd put the Monsters and the Red Sox in S tier. I put the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Padres, the Athletics. I mean, I think it's like Tubs, right? I think the 2 standouts, in my opinion, on the teams are the Monsters and the Red Sox. I think the Yankees, Dodgers, Athletics, Padres, Angels, Royals all go into that second tub of, and even the Giants and, everybody else in the bottom tub. But like, it's so competitive this season that like all 16 of these teams can technically, they can win out. Now, will they? I don't know, but they can all win out. So it's a very competitive season, and I'm super excited. I've been trying to stream every game. I realize what I should be doing is putting the league standings after every video. So I'm gonna start doing that. I have been doing that, but I'm gonna start doing that. So just keep track. But yeah, this is my breakdown of every team. I went into as much detail as I felt is appropriate. Hope you guys enjoyed.